Hi, I'm Sharon McKenzie. I write as S.A. McKenzie, mostly fantasy and sci-fi short fiction. And here's my story, Night Fishing. On rare nights in the late fall, when the moon is a sliver short of full, the fog rolls in from the sea to fill the hollows and valleys of White Cliff. And on such nights, the children of the town go fishing. Min padded down the dark hallway in her socks, avoiding the creaking floorboard under the diamond-patterned rug. She paused by a half-open bedroom door, the nightlight within painting a gold stripe down her face, and then turned away to slip out the back door. Jamming her feet into her sneakers, she turned sideways to fit through the gap in the back fence. Last year she could have wriggled through without touching the sides, but she'd grown since then in all sorts of ways. The fog in the narrow street was so thick she could taste it, salt and metal and a dark tang of decay. She couldn't see the other side of the street and navigated more by memory than sight. On the way up the hill, grey shadows brushed past her wordlessly, all of them heading for the bridge across the railway line. She paused at the top of the Bridge Street steps. There were men between her and the bridge, huddled in the meagre pool of light cast by a street lamp. They paced about, hands tucked in pockets, stamping their feet for warmth. On nights like this, they waited for a child who might choose to sell her catch. Some said that the more desperate men didn't always wait for an offer. Men crossed the street to pass them by, unseen behind a line of parked cars. The pedestrian bridge spanned two high embankments, the rails beneath drowned in churning fog. Children lined both sides, pale shapes perched on the bridge railing, or sitting with legs poked through the slats, heads bent over their lures. Beneath them, the fog lapped at the underbelly of the bridge, thicker than any fog had a right to be. It billowed and swayed, tossing up phantoms. Here, a curving wisp that briefly resembled a slick and gleaming back. There, an opalescent sheen, as if the moonlight reflected off a vast, blind eye. Well, most of the ideas I get for stories start as some sort of question, like, what would you do if your next door neighbour decided you were a god and started worshipping you? Or what if a werewolf got cursed so he's pink and fluffy? So I've written stories based on those things. But night fishing actually started with a couple of images that just kept hanging around. I was imagining a line of children sitting on a wooden bridge, legs dangling. They're all fishing, but they're not fishing in water. They're fishing in the fog below them. And then I pictured a child going to sleep at night with a row of mason jars by their bed, and each one was filled with glowing mist in different colours. So that's all I had for quite a while. I just had something that would have made a good painting, but not a story. So when I've got something like that, I sort of start asking questions about it. You know, what are they fishing for? You know, why are they fishing? What would they do with what they catch? And originally, it started off they were fishing for ghosts, but I couldn't figure out what you really do with a ghost in a jar, what it would be useful for. So the catch became these sort of eldritch, tentacled creatures from another realm that were too dangerous for adults to catch, but children could handle them without fear. And most of these things that you catch, they only give you harmless dreams, but a few of them can change your life, and that's what Min is fishing for, something that will bring on a change for her sick sister. It might be a change for good or not, but either way, it's going to bring an end to her suffering. Well, I only started writing about 5 years ago, so it's been a learning process all the way. I discovered eventually, through trial and error, that I work best as a writer if I outline the plot in advance. I really need to have some idea how a story is going to end before I start it, or it doesn't work for me. And I found that out the hard way after attempting a novel and getting lost in the middle, basically, because I had no idea what was supposed to happen next. So I really do need a rough idea of how things are going to go. The plot I outline doesn't have to cover every detail. It's just a framework that I work within and fill in the details. And I understand a lot of writers don't like working that way. They want to discover things as they go along. They want to be surprised, but I find there's plenty of room for discovery within the parts of the framework, and you have to do a lot less rewriting too when you suddenly realise things are going the wrong way. I would say outline, basically. It doesn't have to be so detailed that you feel it's destroying your spontaneity or your creativity. Just put down the major events in the order they happen and then look at them and see if they make sense to you. And this will also help you make sure that your characters get to the right place at the right time, because you can work out all these set-up events that need to take place to get them there. I really can't give an example of that, because I feel that if a plot is done properly and it's done well, you don't notice it. You don't walk out of a movie going, wow, what a great plot. But if there's a giant plot hole there, or the plot doesn't make sense, or it's been done badly, then you really notice it. And you'll be going around thinking about the huge plot holes and how some things just didn't make sense, or that, some sort of subplot started early on, side story, and then it never got resolved, things like that. So I do feel it's easier to gloss over plotting issues with movies and TV series. You just make everything happen really fast and throw in a few explosions, and the audience doesn't tend to notice so much. But with books, you really have to make sure you've got your plots right, because your reader's going to notice that sort of thing. Probably with my granddad when I was a kid, and it was very boring. I got given a goldfish once, actually. So I told a guy that my goldfish had died. So next thing, I came home and found a goldfish sitting in a plastic bag of water on the front doorstep. Yeah, it's hard to say. We don't have a lot of really distinctive cuisine, but pavlova is pretty much our national dessert. That's a giant meringue that's crispy on the outside and sort of chewy in the middle if you get it done right. Then you pile whipped cream on it and lots of chopped fruit, and it's just a total sugar explosion and very, very sweet. Well, shout out to the editor at Welkin magazine who picked up my story for the Book of Idle Tales. And if you want to read the rest of the story, go have a look there.